Hello everyone, welcome to Borders Guild. I'm Valkyria Verder, so this is my blog, this is my space. Normally when I'm presenting this information, I will write it out and I'll put it in in an actual written blog. I've tried writing this article like 3 different times and it just has not worked. So I'll get like halfway through it and then the words just stop wording, and I realized probably we need a reading for this one as well. So this is going to be about the Pisces eclipse that's happening September 7th. It's happening 1812 UTC time, so translate as necessary to your time zone, or relate as necessary. That's when the full moon becomes exact. That's not necessarily the positions of the eclipse times itself, but when the full moon is exact. So just for reference and specifics, because I like specifics. So there's that. Some updates before I get into the astrology and then the reading part of things. I just want to get us into a preparedness, right? Where before the eclipses, there's a lot of stuff changing. And this next eclipse screams destiny. It screams it. Not only does it scream it, it's about to ground some destiny for us. So with that grounding and that destiny in mind, for preparation purposes, and if you're interested in services, my books are reopened. I have officially reopened them as of like 3 days ago, I think. So there'll be a link down below if you're interested. There's a bunch of different sessions I offer: astrology sessions, birth chart readings, transit works. So like if you're working with the transits and planning, magic mentorship. There's also going to be readings, like just straight up readings that I can sit with you for. There's combination sessions as well, so if you're interested in doing more than one of them, we can sit together for a little bit longer and have more than one. I also just placed on the website my first ward oil for people. It's a specified working that is meant to last in your practice for a very long time. The first work that's up, there'll be more oils to come after this, so if the first one doesn't resonate with you, keep your eyes and ears open. There'll be more announcements about some other oils to come, but this first one is going to be a Sacred Death Fates ward oil, so it's a little bit more complicated than I have the words for here and now, but I have it written up on the website if you're interested and feel called, if you're someone who's in death work, has entered death work. Death work is usually not something that we decide we're going to be a part of. It usually finds us. So if that is something that you are in the middle of, or you feel like you're entering that, or you have entered that, and maybe need the extra wards, need the extra help in your practice, that work is available online. So I look forward to working that oil for you if that's something that you do come through for. It is a sacred work, that of death. So I reordered the altar and everything to prepare for it, and I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. But enough about the updates. Let's get into the Pisces eclipse. So the reason that I wanted to look at the also too, before we even get into it, the format of this is going to be for people who are familiar with the new moon on the exclusive subs for the blog. For people who are familiar with that, it's going to be formatted similarly. We're going to go over some of the astrology, and then towards the end, we're going to do a reading. The main reason that I want to bring this up today is because this eclipse that we have in Pisces, we had a Pisces eclipse in the previous year in September. The North Node did not enter Pisces, though, until the beginning of this year. I'll write down specific dates below. I didn't prepare those before I started filming this, but I'll put down the specific dates in the actual written part of this blog that gets sent out. So check it out if you're wondering about the specifics, for sure. But going back to why I want to talk about it. So the previous eclipse, I don't know what it was about the previous Pisces eclipse in September of 2024, but it was like mild. It was obviously an eclipse. It was different than the other moons, but it was like chill. It was chill. It was a chill eclipse. Normally on the eclipses, there's a bunch of information that, for me at least, that comes through, and it's like a very, very, but the previous Pisces eclipse was like, it was pretty chill. So this upcoming one, though, I was looking at the transits because I'm someone, especially as an astrologer, and like I'm bringing information to the internet with my content to help people with, their planning and just how to prepare for things and kind of like what to look out for. I'm usually pretty prepared in the first place, but then on top of that, having the astrological kind of lookout in the public spaces, I've been looking at this. Okay, all that extra story aside, I've been looking at this eclipse chart that's coming up. And the Pisces eclipse ruled by Virgo. Now, to understand a little bit more about the kind of impact that this is going to have on us, I need to break down the lunar nodes for those of you who are unfamiliar with them. So the lunar nodes are the north node and the south node. They are the axes that carries our eclipses. Now, unlike the moon, it always is moving backwards. The lunar nodes are always going retrograde, which I don't know if we can even call it retrograde at that point, because if it's always moving in that direction, technically it's always moving forward because that is its forward direction. But, you know, the specifics aside, it's always moving backward. The lunar node axis is always in reverse, and it rules over a really, really long-term cycle. It's 18 and a half years, give or take about 1.5 to 2 years on the coming in and coming out of the cycles. So the moons are, you know, that monthly phase. You've got a new moon that happens, like the upcoming new moon that we have is in Virgo. We have 2 new moons in Virgo this year, so just keep that in mind as well. The next one is not the eclipse, but then on August 23rd, but the one on September 21st is going to be an eclipse, so just a heads up. But normally we have one. We just had a new moon in Leo. We could maybe use that as an example. We had a new moon in Leo about a couple weeks ago. It was just the full moon, right, as I'm filming this, so a couple weeks ago. Then we have a full moon about 6 months later in the same sign, and then we have a new moon, again, about 6 months after that full moon, so about a year from that initial full moon, to close out the cycle. And the eclipses work very similarly, except for the fact that it takes about 9 years to get to the full moon. So right now we have the North Node in Pisces, and we won't have the full moon of this axis for Pisces until we get to about 9 years from now. Now with Virgo, so that's just to give you like a grand scale of like, holy cow, there's a lot of stuff moving, because that's a lot. 18 years, I couldn't tell you what I was doing 18 years ago unless I really sat and thought about it, and I was like, what was I doing? I would have to do the math on how old I was also. Like, that's a long time. It's a long time. Also too, with the fact that the lunar nodes are always moving in reverse, and we have, thank you Spirit, that's so true. With the fact that the lunar nodes are always moving in reverse, and then we have the moon, the moon doesn't ever retrograde, right? It's always moving forward. So since that's always moving forward, we have 2 circles moving on opposite spaces. I always like to think of the lunar node axis as like this circle that encompasses the moon cycle, and the moon on the inside is moving in one direction. It's moving and it's moving and it's moving. And then on the outside, if you can imagine, if you're like in the kitchen, okay, you're stirring your cup of coffee, or maybe you're like making, I don't know, dough or some kind of mixture, you're mixing something up, right? If you're turning on the inside, you're going clockwise, but then you're turning the bowl counterclockwise at the same time, right? That's how they work together. That's how they work together. One of them is always going backwards and it's slower, and one of them's always going forward and it's faster. And so you're stirring double the pace. And we have, if you're someone who works with like left hand, right hand, counterclockwise, clockwise sort of stuff with your practice, okay, it's happening simultaneously. They're happening at the same time. It's pretty crazy. They're happening at the same time. So again, just like some bigger perspectives. So let's talk a little bit about the lunar nodes themselves. So the North Node, which is the Pisces eclipse. So just to give you some perspective on kind of what to expect on a general level with the Pisces stuff that we've been experiencing and will continue to experience while those eclipses cycle through for the next about year and a half. The lunar nodes are also going to officially change over in August of 2026 to the Leo and Aquarius axis, which I'm super excited for, but we're going to talk about more on that in another time. Okay, we still have to get through this upcoming eclipse season. Good goodness. So, which is what we're here to do. So let me go back to the North Node. The North Node is this big, high up in the sky purpose, okay? Your destiny, your calling, this thing that you know that you need to do it. I need to do it. Spirit, I don't know how I'm going to do that. Spirit, why'd you ask me to go do that? Spirit, I have none of the skills to get that done. What are you talking about? That's the North Node. It's that thing that you feel it in your bones, but you're like, what? I don't even know how that played me as an instrument, okay? Pisces is all about the spirituality. It's about the spirit. It's about the veil work. And because of that, sometimes it can be a little bit blinding. Now, because we have a full moon coming up, the September 7th eclipse, we are going to have a revealing. Hello, not so blind anymore. Not so blind anymore. Thank you, the veils of Pisces. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We're also, too, very interestingly enough, going to have Saturn retrograde already back in Pisces at this time. And that Saturn retrograde for that eclipse on September 7th. And that Saturn retrograde is it's a super interesting sort of like privatized like moment in this North Node eclipse that's happening. And the reason I say it's like a private thing that's going on with that Saturn is because if you think about what you've been doing since March of 2023, just rewind a little bit, okay? Go all the way back to March of 2023. That's when Saturn entered Pisces. So since then, we've been working on building some sort of spiritual hierarchy, some sort of transition also, because Pisces has to do with transition and like how we're transitioning from one life to the next. So you could find yourself right now in a lot of transition. I know. Raise your hand who's been experiencing that. I will raise both of them. Okay. But me, that has been a lie. It's been a lot of transition. We still have some transition to go through. So just buckle up because that's the ride we're in. So hopefully put on some good music. Hopefully you got snacks in the car too. You know, it is. Okay. So that Saturn retrograde, good goodness, that Saturn retrograde hasn't been back in Pisces. Saturn hasn't been back in Pisces since when? Since May 25th. May 25th is when Saturn entered Aries. Yeah, Saturn entered Aries May 25th. So we've had most of the summer or most of the season, I guess, if you're not in this hemisphere also, most of the season to be with the new era of Saturn in Aries. Aries being the head, ruling the initiations, the new starts, the ignition, the sparks of things. It's the primal fire also. And so with Saturn moving back into Pisces, what we started March of 2023 with Saturn-related, 10th house-related, Pisces-related, Neptune-related stuff is going to start to come to a close. And for that eclipse, one of the things that happens with retrogrades is that usually it is harvest time. That's the reason we sit in so much reconsideration when it's retrograde season or retrograde of a planet, is because we're looking back and we have to harvest all the things that have been, well, maybe not all of it, but all is a big call, right? But there's a lot of it. We sit and we reconsider thematically, where is it sitting? What's it retrograding through? You know, what are the aspects in the chart with the transits? What are the aspects to your chart with that retrograde as well? So just, you know, on a personal level, if you want to look at that, I would call that a good idea. I'll call it a good idea, looking at your Pisces stuff and seeing kind of like what house is it in, what have you been transitioning through because of that Saturn, because this is going to be a reaping. Okay, death. Love you, death. We've got a reaping coming in. We've got a death of what we have been doing. Love you, death. And it's a reaping to help us with, because Saturn, let's talk about it for a second. Saturn doesn't like to reward people unless they've earned it. We know this about Saturn, okay? We know that about Saturn. Saturn's not going to give you the goodies unless you have done the stuff that's necessary, unless you've kept up the order and you've been consistent and you've been persistent and you've been resistant to when things have kind of started maybe falling apart or there's been pushback with what you're working on. So, oh goodness, Saturn is it's just a lot. Saturn is a lot sometimes. Sometimes it's hard lessons. Sometimes the lessons are long and it just is what it is. So we've got that harvest aspect of this, what we've been doing since March of 2023, okay? That's going to be involved with this eclipse. Now, let's go to Neptune for a second, because Neptune's going to be the ruler of Pisces. Neptune's always the ruler of Pisces, but also in this instance, it is. So Neptune is in Aries for this eclipse, and it will eventually go back into Pisces in this retrograde. Let me look and see, when does that happen? October 22nd, Neptune is going to re-enter into Pisces. Now, Pisces is Neptune is a 14-year transit. It's a long time. That's 14 years ago, you're telling me this? That was a while. So if you want to look back 14 years, you totally can. Not necessary if you're not someone who looks at big picture stuff. I sort of have been, because of the time that we're in. We're in this new era beginning and we have all these new starts. So if you feel like it's necessary, then I would, but you may not find, depending on the magic that you're working, it might not be necessary to look back that far, depending on how much weight you're carrying in your practice right now. And no hate, no shade, no shame to anyone who is like carrying less. It's not an issue if you're not there. So just a heads up that it might not be necessary, but if you feel like it is, then you look back 14 years. When did you start when Neptune started its transit? About 14 years ago in Pisces, because that started off this whole new spiritual era. Look at how much spirituality has come to the internet and come to the forefront, and Neptune being in its home of Pisces was like, hey, listen, we got to get the kids up on this. We got to get the people up on this. We got to get the word out because they have a lot of stuff to figure out. So now that that era is coming to a close and we have Neptune entering into Aries, now we have this completely new cycle of Neptune going through the chart. It's just left its home of Pisces. Both Neptune and Saturn are going to station in Aries for the final time and not go back into Pisces until they make a full circle around the wheel again, and that's going to happen 2026. So this upcoming, because what happens with the eclipses, hold on, let's take another step back before we continue with Neptune. What happens with the eclipses is we have them about every 6 months. So we go through the eclipse season, and then we go through about 6 months, and then we have another eclipse season. Now, within those 6 months in between the eclipses, the eclipse seasons that happen, again, about 6 months apart, that 6 months is there to help us transition from everything that was woven, turned, learned, earned, understood, among other words, practiced, okay, worked in that eclipse season. The eclipse seasons bring this of energy, of motion, and then we have about 6 months to adjust and refine the direction and refine with further inspection, and with the moon cycles from, one eclipse season to the next. So with the upcoming about 6 months after this eclipse season, this upcoming eclipse season, we're going to be adjusting to what is happening with these Pisces and Virgo eclipses that are happening in September. I also want to mention, I'm going to put a little sticky note up here for us for this one, that this is the only eclipse season during the entirety of the Pisces and Virgo axis that we have both Pisces and Virgo eclipses. So when I say this one is going to be a big one, I really mean it. I really mean it. It's going to be a big one. It's going to be a big turn. So it's also, this turn is really interesting because it's a lot about what did you earn? What have you earned? We talked about Saturn and the earning of things, right? So let's go back to Neptune for a second. Neptune being in Aries and being retrograde is also about harvest. Now, the harvest paired with that Saturn retrograde, paired with the North Node that's in Pisces right now, the harvest that Neptune is kind of directing on a big picture level, because again, Neptune rules Pisces where the North Node and Saturn retrograde are going to be for this eclipse. So that Neptune in Aries retrograde is like, listen, I know that the North Node and Saturn retrograde are back in the previous era where I was, but I'm still in the new beginning. I'm in the new beginning and I have to look back for a second. I've got to make sure that I've packed up everything that I need. And I also have to think about what tools from that previous era, what schools from the previous era, what understandings from the previous era, what XYZ, okay, there's a bunch of stuff from the previous era needs to come with me into this new era of about 14 years for Neptune and Aries. So Neptune is thinking very logistically right now. It's saying to Saturn retrograde, it's saying to the North Node, and throughout this eclipse season, it's saying, I need to start a new era. We need to make sure I'm set up for that. I need all the supplies. I need all the resources. It's all about me this time. It's very Aries centered. It's very first house centered, very self-oriented, right? So Neptune is like, it's all about me this time. Okay, we've got to get the kids set up. We've got to get this new era started. We've got to make these spiritual transitions within the world. And if we've just got to be able to do it, we've got to be able to do it. So that's where Neptune is at for this eclipse. It's also helping us transition our mind. You can expect some mental changes to come through really throughout the entirety of Neptune and Aries, but definitely during the eclipses of these Pisces turns. So just a heads up on that one. Just a heads up on that one is going to be some mind changes, which I'm looking forward to. I also think that it's going to be a little sneaky. Pisces and Neptune are like that sometimes. You'll be able to notice it, but it'll be within like the subtle energies, So there's a lot of background information for this eclipse. So that's going to be the North Node in Pisces. We've got Saturn retrograde that's going to be in Pisces, and we've got Neptune retrograde that's going to be in Aries. All right, so if we're looking at Mars is the ruler of that Aries space. So Neptune retrograde ruling over that Saturn retrograde and the North Node in Pisces, right? Again, Neptune is thinking very logistically. I need all my resources. We're starting a new era. There's things to do. We've got to get the kids up on this spiritual lingo. We've got a new era of spirituality to start. We got to go. Neptune in Aries. Okay, so, but at the same time, again, reaping what has been done so that they can move on, so that we can move on. This being ruled by, because it's in Aries, is being ruled by Mars. Now, Mars is an interesting little fella. I don't know that I'd call Mars a little fella. I don't want to get poked with a spear. Sorry, Mars. Hopefully, in allyship, that could be a joke. So Mars is about allyship. It's about war, strategy, battle, boundaries. If we're looking at kind of the neutrality of, is it an enemy or is it a friend? Boundaries is a lot about what Mars is. Boundaries of, with it being in Libra for this eclipse, it's going to be boundaries of who we're mirroring. How are we mirroring them? What in our interpersonal relationships do we agree with and do we not agree with? Libra also has to do with balancing the scales of commerce. Libra, I think is it the word ounce? It literally the word Libra is originated from finances and economy. So with that being the exchange of money, it's like the preparation to exchange, because then when we get to Scorpio, then we have the contract signed up and things are exchanged. But before then, we get to kind of contemplate things. We get to weigh things out. We get to understand them before we make our decisions. Now, with Mars, and here's where we get into some of the really interesting stuff, right? So we've got the pre-info, right, with all the other stuff we talked about. When we get to Mars, and then we're gonna get to Virgo momentarily also. We get to Mars in this, some things are gonna start to make sense, okay? Let's also look at what were you doing from 2023 to 2025, earlier this year in January, okay, the end of January. 2023 to 2025, general level. Looking at your life, what justice work were you involved in? Questions, okay? Questions. I have questions. I have some questions, and it might be a benefit to sit with them if you have been following along. What justice work have you been orienting yourself to? For a lot of people, because of the dark moon placement in this previous eclipse season of 2024 in the fall, that dark moon was with Libra, so there was a lot of mother justice, talking about, you know, where we've come from, what we've inherited from our mothers, the wound of the mothers, how did that do justice for us or injustice for us, how is it not just? We've been clearing the scales, to say, kind of generally speaking, clearing the scales of mother, clearing the scales of things that have been not just. We've been clearing the scales of the things that have happened in the shadow, lots of trauma work, lots of healing, lots of revealing, lots of reparenting going on. And that's been for a couple of years. It's not just been like lickety split quick. It's been work that's been working. You know what? Thank you, the planets, for working us. That's the truth. So with that Mars in Libra, the South Node is not in Libra anymore. That was our previous South Node, 2023 to 2025, which is why I bring that up. Now, if you remember, let's go back to Saturn for a second, right? Okay, Saturn retrograde back in Pisces started in Pisces. Saturn started in Pisces 2023. Oh, we've got some alignments. That's what I'm saying. It gets kind of interesting. So remember also, we're going to brush up on some information really quick before we move on. That Libra placement, okay, with 2023 to 2025, we've got the lunar nodes in that space. The South Node, the axis is there. The South Node is there. The North Node would have been in Aries, which is interesting because that's where Neptune is now. Another note for another time. Let's go back to Libra South Node, okay? 2023 to 2025. Now, that lunar node axis, let's remember, goes backwards. The moons go forward, but the lunar node axis goes backwards. So with the lunar node axis going backwards, now we are receiving tools. Beautiful. It started raining. Now we are receiving tools. We are receiving, with that Mars and Libra placement, the harvest. Because Mars, while it is about boundaries and it is about battle, strategy, victory, war-related things, it's also about agriculture, the harvest. When we go into our work and we harvest and we reap, this is what has been sown, and now this is what has been grown. So for 2 years, okay, 2 years. Oh my God. Really like 2.5, because this started in March of 2023. Okay, so like 2.5, crazy. Like 2.5 years of balancing the scales, justice. Let me get my money up, okay? Let me make sure that these scales are clear. Let me work with my inner mother wound. Let me understand how it's affected me. Let me clear that out. Let me make sure that I can show up as a more just person. Let me also work within the binds of this Saturn restriction where it's in the spiritual space and earn some hierarchical position for myself. Holy cow. Holy cow, guys. That was a lot. So you need to reflect on it on a personal level. That's a lot. It's a lot, okay? It's a lot. Take your time. It's not a rush. And also, like, holy cow. Whoa. So Mars is like, listen, did you win the war? What happened? Did you win the war? Did you lose? What battles did you choose? How did you walk through it? How did you brew it? How did you do it? Because this eclipse is going to be, with all the moving pieces, because we still have a couple more to talk about, which is literally crazy, that have to do with this harvest, okay? The harvest of destiny. We're going to get that. We're going to get to that in a second. We're going to get to the harvest of destiny part. We've got to talk about Virgo, like in that conversation. We're not quite there yet. Still though, looking at the harvest, let alone, okay, looking at the harvest of Saturn in Pisces and those years, crazy. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of work. That's one planet involved in this. And then we have the Libra lunar nodes involved in this. That's a lot of work too. I don't know about you, but that South Node in Libra kind of kicked my behind. That was a lot. Balancing the scales of mother? Okay, yeah. I feel like Spirit took me and shook me out like a rag doll and was like, you got to get all that dirt off of you, and then put me through the washer. And then I've been drying out for a couple of months in terms of that metaphor, okay? So here we are, pre-eclipse season. Crazy. Here we are, pre-eclipse season. And we're getting in preparation for this, right? So we've got those harvests wild. Now, let's talk about what is ruling Libra for this eclipse. We've got Venus, right? Venus is always going to be the ruler of Libra. Venus this time is going to be in Leo. Bright light, direct. Again, the moon doesn't ever move backwards. It's always moving forward. Same thing with the sun. Sun is always going to be moving forward too. Leo also, it's the illumination. Sometimes there's exaggeration with Leo. Leo also has to do with the parental parent-child relationships, whether it be your parents or your children or both, you know? Has to do with the joy of you, the joy of the home. I also call it the unencumbered joy of the child. You know, when a kid is like chasing a butterfly and they're just really, really happy about it. Oh my God, a butterfly. They're not thinking about anything else, okay? They're happy about it. There's nothing else on their brain. That's just it, because they're a kid, okay? It's that kind of joy. Leo joy is very different. And it's interesting to me too, because the Cancer is right before Leo, and Cancer is like all of the emotions, and then eventually we move on to Leo, where it's like the joy. We found it. No wonder we've had trends and fads in society like looking for happiness sort of thing, right? So, okay. Moving on though, that's where Venus is going to be, and Venus is about the giving and the receiving. And let's think about this retrospectively, okay? Venus has ruled Libra the entire time that the Libra South Node was active, right? Right. So if we're in harvest of about 2.5 years, Venus being in Leo is going to shine a bright light on everything that we have done for 2.5 years. This is what you have given, and this is what you receive now. This is what you have driven, not just given, sometimes the drive, right? So this is what you have driven, and this is where you have arrived now. Venus is what, because we've got the retrograde of Saturn looking backwards. Neptune retro is retrograde looking backwards. The lunar nodes are going backwards, okay. Mars starts to bring us into looking forward a little bit, because it's direct. Venus also is going to help us to bring things back to the front. So instead of only looking backwards, we're coming back to the front. From all these things that we've learned, this is where I am now, this is what I've harvested. From all these things I have done, this is where I am now. From all this justice work, okay? This is how the scales have balanced. Now, what can I do because of that? If you imagine like a court case, right? If you've been in the Hall of Justice for forever, okay? 2 years, 2.5 years. If you've been in the Hall of Justice in a trial of some kind, okay? I think a trial is a good word for this. Been in a trial for a couple years? Valid. You've been in that courthouse, that Hall of Justice, for about 2.5 years. Now is the verdict. Now is the verdict. Now is when the judge puts down the gavel and says, this is what I say. Whatever that is for you, it's going to be different for every person. This is what I say. That's what this Pisces eclipse is bringing in. So then we also have to look at, oh dear goodness, we've got another layer. Here we go. We also have to look at Venus's ruler, because it's in Leo, is going to be the sun. The sun for this season is in Virgo. Okay, Virgo. We've got, for Virgo, is ruled by Mercury. Mercury is going to be direct in Virgo. It's going to be with the South Node. in Virgo. Okay, so those are going to be our Virgo placements for the eclipse. Now, I went over the North Node earlier. I did not go over the South Node, and now it is time for us to talk about the South Node when we talk about the lunar eclipses. The South Node, if the North Node is that thing that's way high up in the sky, it's this thing that we're called to, destiny, right? Not sure how to get there, got to figure it out. Know we can do it, just don't know when, where, how, sometimes even why. When we get to the South Node, I can just do it. No one had to teach me, or I watched it once and I can pick it up because I just naturally have the innate ability. The South Node is the thing that on the earth, your human instinctively understands. You are naturally good at it. You are naturally a brilliant person within that area. That's applicable for the chart, a personal chart. It's also going to be applicable for the actual eclipses. So one of the other ways, okay, so that's going to be more on like a human quality level. If we're looking at the big picture of how the lunar nodes work together, North Node, high up in the sky, South Node, earthly stuff that's pretty easy. The skills, right? When they go back and forth, the destiny high up in the sky, relating to the ground, I was talking earlier about how it takes about 9 years for the North Node to get into a South Node position. So about 9 years from now, we're going to have a South Node in Pisces. When that happens, the North Node, the destiny, the calling, the purpose that we don't understand, but we know we need to do it, comes to the earth. It has a physical manifestation. It is earthly, grounded, available, aware. It is here, undeniably. We have driven for 9 years in one direction, and now we have arrived somewhere with that South Node. That's going to be on the bigger scale of things, right? That for the 9 years that the North Node would go into the South Node. But when we're talking about just the axis that's happening right now with Pisces in the North Node and Virgo in the South Node, that Pisces North Node then comes to the Earth. When we have the South Node, things come down onto the ground here in the physical realm. It's in reality. It's here. Saturn is also a planet of reality checks, and it is going to be with the North Node in Pisces, bringing things into reality, into a fruition. We have these planets that are harvesting with their retrogrades. We have Mars that has to do with agriculture and harvest. We have Venus that has to do with the giving and the receiving, and it's bringing these harvests back to the future so that we can, back to the future, LOL, so that we can go forward, okay, for the coming years. Then we get into the fact that this is centered in the ruling of Virgo and that the South Node is there. Something that we have been completely unaware of. That's the other part about this. Pisces blinds us for a reason. We can look at it, we can understand, we can inspect all we want, but we're not going to know till we're there. We're not going to know until the spirits around us in our realms, in our spaces, the spirits on our team, the spirits at our altar, spirit, the goddess, God, however you pronounce the spirits that are, up there, higher, the all. It's a big call, the all, right? Until they allow it. You're not going to see it till they allow it. That's just a part of it. Sometimes the authority is bigger than you and me. Sometimes we are like tiny little ants here on the earth. Sometimes we're not. Sometimes we are quite big and we are the big one and there are actual ants around us, right? But sometimes we are the tiny little ant and there's really, really big beings that are up there changing things around. So with the South Node being with the Sun, being with Mercury, which is going to be the ruler of Virgo, right? So they're all in the same space. What's coming to the earth? The tools of destiny, the understanding of the direction of destiny, being able to very easily participate in the destiny that you have received, worked for, earned, and are turning into. It's both at the same time. The other interesting part about this is because this Pisces eclipse is ruled by Virgo, we have if you remember from earlier, we're going to brush up and then expand on it, okay? We've got a new moon in Virgo, August 23rd, which is before the Pisces eclipse, and we have a new moon in Virgo, September 21st. That is the eclipse. It's another eclipse, all right? The new moon solar eclipse. That's after the Pisces eclipse. So not only is this Pisces eclipse ruled by the Virgo space, 6th house, Mercury, Virgo. That's what to look at in your chart to understand kind of the core essence of this. And then all the other expansions we talked about a second ago. There's a lot of layers to it, so take your time if you unpack it, because it is a lot. So not only is the Virgo eclipse, or the Pisces eclipse, ruled by Virgo, but it's encapsulated by 2 new moons in Virgo. We're about to have the biggest turn in destiny that we've seen in a really long time. For some of us, this will be the biggest turn of destiny that we see for maybe our entire life. Maybe not. Okay, we do have Pluto and Pisces coming up in, what would it be, like 18-ish years, right? So we're gonna have a different era. I've been thinking about Pluto and Pisces recently. We're not gonna get too ahead of ourselves, but interesting, weird. We're gonna talk about it another time. Okay. But for some of us, this is going to be one of the biggest turns of destiny. And if you're around to see the Pluto and Pisces era, talk about a crazy turn of events that's going to lead into something for that Pluto and Pisces era. Starting here. Because the other part, we're talking about Mercury ruling that Virgo space. Mercury is also going to be ruling Uranus, which is going to be it's in Gemini. And then Uranus and Saturn retrograde, which again is in Pisces, are both ruling the Pluto retrograde that's in Aquarius. Talk about a reaping. Dear good God. Dear good God. Sometimes I don't have the words, okay? Sometimes I don't have them. That's wild. And I always laugh when I don't have the words because I literally talk for a living. Crazy. So grateful for that. And also crazy. And if we look at the extra layer of this, I'm going to go one step further, okay? And then we'll probably get into the reading portion of this. We go one step further. Pluto is one of the rulers of Scorpio, right? Mars being the other one. And right now, you remember what I was talking about with the dark moon back in the 2024 fall eclipses with Libra, right? Helping us activate the healing, the revealing, the justice work of our mother wound, bringing that into like a consecration. Okay, fruition, activation, sometimes an initiation, valid. That's also true. So moving into where we are now, the dark moon in Scorpio. It's a Scorpio that's being ruled by this eclipse. What have you earned? What did you will for yourself? You will the change. For 2.5 years, you will the change when it comes to motherhood, mother cycles, mother wound, healing of the dark feminine. What'd you do? How'd you earn it? I want to know. Hopefully you do too. Hopefully it's good. Okay, so now that all of that has been said, we're harvesting destiny. That's what this eclipse is. I am going to interject before we get into the reading. So I do those new moon exclusive subs for the exclusive subs. I do the new moon breakdowns. I am going to be putting out the new moon breakdown for the Virgo new moon August 23rd. If you are planning on doing work or looking at the upcoming eclipse season and you're interested in that perspective, that's going to be the moon to pay attention to, especially if you're someone who like half pays attention to the articles I send out, or like you like sort of only catch them sometimes. That one is gonna be the one. That one's gonna be the one. The eclipses just do their things naturally, right? Okay, but to prepare, to get into the preparation, to be like, this is the season I'm gonna have, and this is what I'm gonna focus on. It'll be the new moon August 23rd. So I'll have that one out in the coming time, but let's look at kind of any information that we might need to know in a reading format. Something dark headed towards you. You could see it. You know those like shutter shades? Did you ever see those from like, I was a scene kid back in the day. I don't know if you guys could tell that or not, but I was a scene kid. You know the shutter shades where they had like, it was like lines. They had lines in them. You could see through the lines. They weren't like actual sunglasses. That's what I'm seeing for this. What a weird reference. Talk about a completely different era, right? So it's like something from the dark, something from the spiritual darkness. A wishing well. Throw a wish in a well. Throw a wish in a well. Something of darkness comes true. Not to scare you. Sometimes we think about the darkness as like, that's where the secret monsters are, right? Not wrong, but this is not that necessarily. It's like something of darkness. What I see is someone who trusts the darkness. That's kind of the perspective I'm looking at. Is like someone who's looking into this black pit. Not a void necessarily, but just like if you've ever been in a cave and it's like so quiet. So dark, And it's like almost deafening. If you've ever experienced that. Wild, first of all. Secondly, that's kind of what I see. Someone just like staring into that pit of darkness, the cave of darkness, knowing that the spirits are there, knowing that their offerings are doing something, knowing that they're going to have some sort of return, some sort of something. Because the other thing about Pisces, it has to do with the rainwater. So if you've been persisting, here I'm showing up in my practice, here I'm giving this to the spirits, here I'm devoting myself to these things, here it is, here I am, I'm doing the work. Maybe you haven't seen a full return yet, a return. And now it's time. Now it's time. That big black pit is gonna bring something to you. For some people, I see a little like getting spit out and then lands. Because that's the other thing about, I tried to emphasize it, but I feel like I got to put it into different words. The other thing about the way that the North Node and the South Node are interacting for this eclipse is like, normally we don't have things from the Destiny and the Purpose North Node ground during the North Node related eclipse. But because of where Virgo is, we do have things coming to the Earth. We have things coming Earthside. We have things coming to the physical, real world manifestation right here, right now. Not that the real world isn't in the realms, but like the IRL, okay, offline, here, now, that. Yeah, hopefully you catch my drift, right? Okay, yeah, because reverence to the realms is also true. So I see for some people it's going to be it's going to get just like tossed out. Okay, here you go. I see for some people there's going to be a light that comes up and it's going to be like, we prepared all this for you, we just couldn't show you yet. It's going to be different for every person. There's going to be some people who it's like friends and there's people there. There's going to be some people who receive, it's going to be different. It depends on what you've been working on. For this, if you look at the house that Pisces is in, that's going to show you the area of your life that you may want to go kind of check out, look at. You can look at your Neptune. Did you see how I followed the rulers throughout the chart? So if you look at your Neptune, what house is it in? What is it ruled by? What is that ruled by? You got a Neptune in Capricorn. Go back to your Saturn. Non-ironically, okay, with the Saturn crossover of this eclipse in Pisces. But going back to this, something of the spirit, something in the... This is also a time to be brave, because think about sitting next to a cave and continuing to give to that black pit over and over and over and over and over and over. That's wild, first of all. Secondly, crazy. Over and over and over and over and over. Thirdly, wild. Fourthly, crazy. Wild, crazy. Over and over and over. And you haven't been afraid of the cave. Okay, you haven't been afraid of this big black pit. Anything could be sitting in there. Literally anything could be sitting in there. Spooky, okay? Spooky. Woo. Anything could be in there. There could be anything in there, right? There could be anything in that cave. And you decided to sit at the edge of it. You have faith, you have patience, you have understanding. You talked to the cave when nobody else came to visit. Imagine that. This sacred cave in the middle of the woods that nobody else has been to in 100 years. Maybe longer. And you decided you're going to show up. Yeah, you know what? I am going to sit at this cave. No one has loved this cave in a long time, but I love this cave. Okay. Well, the cave loves you too. Duh. So the cave is giving something back. A metaphor, right? Okay. The cave is giving something back. You can't see it yet. You can feel it, maybe. I think that might be happening. Maybe. Let's read the fates around that one. Hold on. Also, this is not your decision. Okay. Sometimes things just happen. Sometimes good things happen to good people. Sometimes things just happen. This is not your decision. This thing that's happening, or like what's being returned to you, not returned. Offered. Yeah, offered. A sacrifice on your behalf. That's another part of Pisces, sacrifices. What are we sacrificing? How do we sacrifice? Because we need to make the transition. We need to be able to go into the new beginning a lot of the time. And with those new beginnings comes sacrifice. It's part of the reason that the 12th house is so hard and Pisces spaces are so hard is because to be able to go all the way through that transition and to get all the way through that house of Pisces in the 12th house, we are asked to make sacrifices. Sacrifice what is going to depend on who you are and what you're working on and where you're going as well. If we go back to kind of the position of Neptune right now, Neptune retrograde still being in Aries, it's out of the house of sacrifice. Neptune, which rules over that house of sacrifice, is not in the house of sacrifice anymore. Neptune is in the new beginning. It might be looking back, for sure, but it's still in the new beginning. It's stationed in the new beginning. And so it doesn't have to sacrifice. It says, give me what's owed. Give me what's mine. Give me what's owed to me. Give me what's mine. I'm here and it's time. So this is not something that the sacrifice that's being returned to you. Because if we go back to the cave metaphor, if you've been sacrificing things into the cave, here cave, I love you, I'm going to bring you flowers. Here cave, I love you, I'm going to light you a candle. Here cave, I love you, I'm going to bring you some water. Here cave, I love you, I made you some food. You want to eat with me today? So brave at the cave. So brave at the cave. You don't get to decide what the cave brings back to you, you know? Maybe you show up at the cave one day and there's a cat there. And the cat decides it's going to follow you. The kitten delivery system. Maybe the cave was like, hey, you know what? Here you go. You brought me all this stuff. I brought you a cat. You didn't decide that. You didn't decide that. The cave decided that there was going to be that big black pit. Okay. It decided that there was going to be a cat. So we don't get to decide what gets returned to us with these kinds of sacrifices. We get to interact with the magic. We can ask for stuff. We can say, this is what I would like to have. It's like a kid on a Christmas list, right? Okay, this is what I would like. I'm going to make my list of things I want for Christmas. But when Santa comes, Santa may not have everything on the list. Santa may have things that are not on the list at all, completely different, right? So you don't get to choose. It's just going to come to you how it needs to. Strength. You're strong enough. You're strong enough. Why is this here? Strength. Think about how strong your work is. Interesting. Think about how strong your work is. Your work. Magical. Your work. I mean, it's Saturn influenced, right? So looking at your work. Where have you been applying that? For some people, it's going to be family. For some people, it's going to be career. For some people, it's going to be school. For some people, it's going to be spiritual stuff. For some people, it's going to be healing, you know. For some people, it's going to be their relationship with their partner. Like, there's so many different areas. That's where that Pisces house is going to come into play to help you understand kind of the space in your life where this is going to be more applicable on a personal level. Think about how strong your work is. Think about how strong your work is. If we're looking also from a strictly magical perspective, as you know, Pisces has to do with our offerings and sacrifices in a practice as well. Think about how strong your magic is. Think about how strong you are as a practitioner. And if we're looking at also the previous 2.5 years, think about everything that you've righted, all the wrongs that were righted, all the things that were brought back into balance, all the things that were brought back into scale. I don't know about you, but I know about me. I don't think I would be able to, even if I tried to say in that comprehension, I don't think that I would be able to understand it in totality. 2.5 years, wrapping that up in my, like all the stuff that's happened, wrapping that up in one little neatly packaged, I don't think I could do that. I don't think I could understand that. So think about how strong it's been. Think about how strong it's been, because the return is it's the same gust of wind. It's just coming towards you instead of you pushing it out. Okay. And then the other thing that's on my mind right now about this as well is like, we're going to see things ground from that eclipse until we get into the next eclipse season in February of 2026. We're also going to see, the eclipse is going to turn us, or like it's going to be the thing that shifts our understanding the harvest. There could be mental changes that help us understand what this harvest could be as well. So, because I'm thinking about people who might not see kind of like the immediate. If it's not in immediacy, we have 6 months. Yeah, so patience, because we have 6 months. We have 6 months. There's also going to be things that are returned. So for 6 months, you're going to have things returned to you. Congratulations, our dear. That's what I feel about that. And then we have next year too, because next year, the Pisces eclipse, we're going to have another Pisces eclipse come fall time when we get into the Leo and the Aquarius axis. So we're going to be adjusting. Like, okay, if you've been through the lot of it and you've done the work, listen, that's not up to me. So, and that authority also is above me and the both of us to determine, you know, is that true? Did you do it? I don't know. So if you did, and you know you're talking to your spirits about it, and if you didn't, patience and grace with yourself. Okay, don't like fret over it. Spiritual discipline, talking with your spirits, learning about maybe what it is that still needs to be done, and discern on a personal level if that is for you or not. Because this return of the things that have been kind of like brought to that cave is going to be for the next year. Super impactful for the next, 6 months, but it's also going to be for the next year. And then probably for about 6 months after that because of how the eclipses turn and cycle. So until the early 2027, that's a while. That's a while. This is also not something that you chose to create. What is going to be returned to you, what is going to be sacrificed on your behalf. You've made the sacrifices already. So what is being sacrificed on your behalf? You are not the one who's created that. Wow. One of the things because I remember I said I wrote this, I tried to write this as an article like 3 different times and I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't get the words out. And so I was like, I need to talk about it. That's fine. Let me sit and talk about it then verbally. And one of the things that I said about it is that this eclipse is going to be like, this is the definition of spiritual intervention. One of the definitions. This is one of the definitions. This eclipse could be defined as a spiritual intervention. Like the way that the South Node being in Virgo on the ground and having it be in reality, it's earthly, it's in the physical plane. It's not just in the mental, it's not just in the emotional, it's not in the spiritual, not just in the spiritual, it's in the physical, grounded here. And it's an earth sign, it's Virgo, so super earthy, earth, right? Then we have the North Node up here, that's all of these spiritual offerings, the sacrifices. The way this eclipse is set up, it's like the hand of spirit is now able to come down and like move things on your behalf. Move things for what it is that you have earned. The world has turned. There's a lot that's changed in the previous 2.5 years. Clearly. If you haven't seen it, you're not paying attention. And if you are paying attention, man. Okay. So that what has been earned, spiritual intervention. There's going to be some spiritual intervention. Now, again, authority above me, above you. That stuff is above us. It will be sort of like inclined because of your relationship with the spirits or the things that have been offered or how it is that you keep your practice. What have you earned, right? The Saturn orientation, the harvest with Mars and the retrogrades, and then the return of things with Venus. So I also want to take a moment to, golly, we haven't even talked about that part yet. I'm bringing it down just a little bit. We haven't even talked about that part yet. Virgo is the story of Persephone and Demeter. Virgo, if we focus on Persephone's story, is the story of how she gets bound up into a contract in the underworld that she was unaware of in totality and now spends half the year in the underworld. She didn't mean to sign up for that. It was on accident. And if we're looking at the lunar nodes, right, we've talked about the previous lunar node in Libra. The justice balancing, everything we've been over, right? Before that was Scorpio, 2021 to 2023. That was the exactness of those contracts. The exactness. Man, oh man. So with Virgo and the story of Persephone and the fact that the lunar nodes are always moving in reverse, we're going to be able to get out of some bindings. You don't have to be in that anymore. You've earned the right to move on. You've earned the right to leave. You've earned the right. So now that you've earned the right to move on and leave, here, you get to receive some things now. The spirits can come in and intervene on your behalf. We're getting you out of this. We're getting you out of this. We're going to bring this new thing in, okay? Prayers being answered. Miracles are going to happen. The witnessing of it, okay? And again, think about how strong the work that you've done is. Okay. Okay, then. Okay, then. Because if you think about how strong the work that you've done is, don't you think it's going to be some sort of equal exchange? Good. Thank you for recognizing how powerful you are. Take a moment with yourself. Wow, I really did that. Wow, I really accomplished that. Wow. This one's done. Hold on. Let's pick this up. This one, this one, this one. Okay, so let's get another order. What else needs to be said? Harvest, cycle. Harvest done. The harvest is through. Harvest is over. A new cycle begins. Harvest is over. New cycle begins. Ooh. Okay. Oh. Okay. Okay. Think about how many finalities in the previous, we talked about 2.5 years, right? Think about how many finalities you have consecrated. You've left a person for the final time. You've left a situation for the final, like places you are not ever going to go back to, literally ever. People you're not ever going to go back to, ever. Jobs, family, friends, partners, colleagues, habits, okay, rituals, spirits. I don't know. There's a lot of applicable places for this, okay? But think about the finalities, the death that has been consecrated, that you're not ever going back to, ever. What I see is like, if this is you putting out a candle, you know how sometimes candles relight themselves? You ever seen that happen where like you don't put it out all the way and it's like, I still have life left. Don't even try me. Whoop, and it sparks back up, right? This is the spirits coming through to make sure that the final touch is put on it. You were never going to be able to put that candle out all the way. Ever. Not your responsibility, not your job, not even within your capability. Not within your contract either. Not for you. You've been making sure that the consistency has been, again, putting the air in the cave, okay? Being brave. The consistency of that, however that might apply. Having the blowing in and blowing in and blowing in and blowing in. There's always the possibility, until this eclipse, always the possibility that the spark could come back up. But this eclipse, the spirits are going to come through, and I see like the hand, like a big hand coming through and being like, we squelch this for the final time now. This is really done. There's something final. More than final. It's more death than maybe we realize. So let's look at the fates around that. More death than we realize. Seven of Swords. Come get your awards. It's like somebody being brought up on stage and you get this award 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 and you get this award. You get this award, and you get this award, and you get this award. Again, what'd you earn? Come get your awards. Come get them. This is what you did. Come get them. Come get them. Come get them. You're called to the front. Man, oh man, that's going to be a very vulnerable moment. That's what I'm feeling about that right now. When you're called up in front of the spirits like that, you can't hide. Oh, you could try, but they're going to find you. They're going to let you hide too. That's fine. But come up to the front. Come up to the front. We talked about justice too. It's like the judge being like, come up to the bench. Here's the final verdict that I have. Come to the front. Come to the front. That's going to be very blatantly direct. Yeah, you are not going to have to further inspect that. That is going to be very blatantly direct. Come to the front. Come to the front. We need to what is going to be dependent on you, but we need to. Come to the front. Seven of Swords is not just about come get your awards. Seven of Swords is also a completion. Why would you complete it? Why would you? Because you need to be done. Why would you complete it? Why would you? Persephone, if we go back to the Virgo story, Persephone doesn't get to leave the underworld until it's time. Hello. She just sits. She gotta wait. I'm sure she does other stuff than just sit, but like she has to wait. You don't get out of that contract until those 6 months are up. And then you go back. And it doesn't matter if you want to come back early or you want to leave early. It doesn't matter. You got to stay there for 6 months. And then you can come back for 6 months. It's a very final. Those sorts of contract, ironclad. What in your contractual obligations, if it feels applicable, okay? If not, don't worry about it. But ironclad. It could be because Pluto retrograde is involved in this. It's like one of the final layers, like the cherry on top of the sundae for this eclipse. Crazy. It's still a part of it. So if we're looking at Pluto, this could be honestly ancestral stuff. Blood contracts, inheritance from the ancestors, ancestral work that you've been doing. We've been talking about mother-father work, mostly mother work, but we've been talking about the ancestors, right? So ironclad. What have you done? Okay. A lot of the work that has not been fun is about to see the sun. It has not been fun, and it's going to see the sun. Look at what you've done. Look at what you did. What I see is somebody going through this bloody battle for the 2.5 years, right? Just this bloody battle. Could be longer than that. No break, no rest. Gotta drive, gotta go, gotta get it done. No break, no rest. What is that video where they're like plane, club, another club, another club? Yeah, it's like that, except for, okay, now put it in application to war. Ooh, not super fun, okay? Not super fun. Come on to the front. Look at what you've done. And I feel very, like, juxtaposed saying that. Part of me feels, because I feel it's like duality. Part of it is going to be like, look at what you've done. Look at all the ruin. Look at the death. But then there's another part that I'm feeling, again, the juxtaposition. So like the other side of this is like, look at what you've done. You can receive the accolade. Look at what you've done. You completed that. Look at what you've done. You finished. Probably a lot of tears. I can feel them grounding already. Okay, here we go. The next one, you reap what you sow. What are we gonna see? Don't over grieve. Sometimes you just need to leave. Sometimes you just need to leave. You can't just sit and cry there and cry there and cry there and cry there. It reminds me of, I was thinking about this recently, because I've been in a process of grieving recently as well. And I was thinking about this recently. I was a kid, when I was in high school, I had a teacher. She was one of my, like, she was the choir director, and I was in choir programs. And I was in, like, the advanced choir program, so I was in there a lot. I would say she was a favorite of mine, but we'll leave that position to be seen. So, as it is. But she was a good influence. She was a strong influence. I think that's the way I'll word it. She was a strong influence. That's true. She told me one day, because I was just going through it as a kid. It is, all right? I was just going through it as a kid. And she told me one day, she was like, sometimes you got to give yourself 24 hours, and then you got to pick yourself up and move on. And I didn't get it. I was like, what do you mean? Because I was in a situation where that maybe wasn't the most helpful or applicable advice. I was also an angsty teenager, you know? So, but I had to live through active harm almost every single day. So I was like, what do you mean give myself 24 hours? Like, this is going to be something that is ongoing. I don't know, like, that perspective is not helpful right now. But I was thinking about that perspective recently because I thought about it throughout the years as I've gone through different sort of grievings or different spaces. And recently it's come back up literally within the previous, like, about 3 days. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, my teacher did used to say that to me. She said it once, like, very, like, but I'm pretty sure it was brought up on other occasions. So I was sitting and I was thinking about it, and I was like, how do I explain this right now? I was like, as an adult, that's some pretty good advice. Because I could just sit here and grieve about it for the rest of my life. I could sit here and I could cry and wallow about it for the rest of my life. But I don't have the time, and I have things to get done. So I was like, the 24-hour rule is not a bad rule. I've used it throughout my time. And I was thinking about it recently. I was like, yeah, sometimes you do just have to pick up and move on and keep going. Well, good. So there's going to be, you might not be done with the grief, but you can grieve when you need to. Get up. It's time. Get up. Let's go. Get up. There's sun. Get up. We got things to get done. Get up. That's a much happier spirit than I was expecting to come through. Okay, cool. Get up. It's time. Let's go. Get up. Hopefully the getting up is easy. And you know what? If you need to complain about it while you do it, sometimes I do that to the spirits too. I'm like, really? You make me get up right now? Okay. Not all the time, but if I'm really having a hard time getting up. Okay. And I know I need to. If I know I need to rest, I'll do that. But sometimes it is. Okay. So get up. It's time. Get up. Get up. Get up. It reminds me too, sleeping over at one of my friends' houses when I was younger. Her mom would always come in early in the morning. She'd be like, okay, girl, it's time to get up now. And in their household, you did not rest around like that. You got up. You got up. We had things to do. Oh, goodness. This is also going to be no more innocence. You got to see the truth about some things. Oh, because you know what? When you see the truth about things, I've been thinking a lot about this recently. I've been thinking about keys. If you're part of the coven work and you did that full moon dream work with us, one of the things that, it was a really, really personal dream, but one of the things I was given in the dream was this key. It was a massive key. Chonky, big key. Big key. Chonky, big key. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. And they told me, the spirits told me what the key was for, and like a big key, it was a big key. It's like, it makes sense, but geez, guys. Big chonky key. And recently, since then, that was literally only a couple days ago, but the keys have also been kind of like a signifier in the coven work, kind of like since the beginning of the year. So there's that too. But in the previous, like since the full moon, I've been thinking about keys. And a lot of the times for me, Hecate is around when there's keys that are about to be like shown. Lots of dark truth, you know, the things that maybe you didn't see prior to that moment. You've been prepared to understand something that's now a responsibility to hold. Man, the dark truths of magic, the hard truths of magic. Truth can just be sort of difficult sometimes, but also it's like the big, like you reach the bottom of a well and understand everything that fell down from the top, or that you experienced coming down from the top. So I've been thinking about that recently, and I'm looking up at my keys now where I keep them. That's what this is for. The turn. There's a turn of keys. A turn of keys. And innocent. And innocent becomes known. Innocent becomes known. Innocence that is no longer grown. Something that's like, you're grown now. You need to know this. You're grown now. Something's shown. You're grown. Sometimes the kids don't get to know until we're older, right? Okay, you're grown. Here's the truth. You're grown. Here's your truth. You're grown. The truth you're working in. You're grown. There's a key, at least one. Could be more. For you that comes out of that. Receive your awards. You earn the key. I was thinking about that too with the key that was given to me in that dream work with the coven. I was like, that key, I already had that key. I just was like shown that I already was holding it. Like it didn't just manifest out of thin air. Like I worked my butt off for that key. So thanks for that. I'm grateful for it. Yeah. So this is something that has been earned. Again, the harvesting part of things, right? Okay. What else? Are you ready to be abundant? Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you really ready? Are you really, really ready? Oh, are you really ready? What did you ask for? Abundance. You asked for abundance of love. Did you ask for abundance of heart? Did you ask for abundance of money? Did you ask for abundance of time? Did you ask for, what did you ask for? Abundance. What did you want? What are you getting? Abundance. Hello. What are you getting? What are you getting? You didn't just call all that death in for no reason. You called it to make room for new life. So here we are. So what are you getting? What are you getting? You're not quitting. You're keeping up. You're disciplined. Even when you need to take a break, you're like, I'm going to get up again. Relentless. Relentless. Okay? What are you getting then? What's it going to be? What's it going to be? I want to know. You don't have to tell me when you find out, but I want to know. That's pretty cool. What are you getting? Opportunity, relationship with the heart. No, relationship with what are you? Exactly. Relationship with what are you? What are you? It could be a who, but for most people, I don't think it's going to be. It doesn't feel like that. It's like, I earn this thing. I earn this thing. Relationship with the what? Relationship with the what? Relationship with the what? That's been kind of a question. Relationship with the what? Abundance, receiving. There's a card. Oh, a card that's about to be turned and shown to you. Oh, you have this in your deck. You want to play it now or not? You have this in your hand. You want to play it now or not? You're playing the game of cards, the game of life. You have this in your deck now. A secret, silent sleeper up in your hand of cards. What are you going to do with it? You going to play it now? You going to hold on to it? Don't hold on to it till the round's over because you want to play it at some point. Secret card. Secret card. If there's only one wild in the deck, that's what this feels like. You got the most important card. You got the most versatile card. What is it? Something's in there. Something's in there. There's going to be something else about that one that comes up. Hold on. Something's in there. 2 of wands, 2 of wands, 2 of wands, 2 of wands, 2 of wands. Then your life makes sense. Here's the card. You're allowed to play that card. You're allowed to play your card. Man, it's like, it reminds me. I'm going to tell you a story because I feel like it's time. 2 different things. One, it reminds me of the song. I've been referencing this song a lot recently, so if you heard me talk about it, then here we are again. But it reminds me of the song Nosebleeds by Doechii. There's a part in the song, it's the song that she put out after she won the Grammy, her Grammy. Basically, she was like, I look good from the nosebleeds. Like, that's why everybody wants to be me. That's why I won this, whatever. Great. There's a part of the song where she's like, to like high school and all the bitches from the past, and there's like some other people she references to. I knew it. It's this moment of like, I was right the whole time. You guys laughed at me, you made fun of me, you bullied me, you harassed me, you whatever. You put me through this suffering. You forced me to suffer. This might be the only story. I think the other story is kind of irrelevant now, but you forced me to suffer, and I knew it the entire time. You forced me to suffer. I was already going through enough suffering, so you added to the plate of suffering, and I knew it the whole time that I was destined for this. Talking about destiny, right? I was destined for this. I knew it. I knew it. You can't take that sort of thing away from somebody. You can't. You cannot take destiny away from a person. It's spoken over you. It's spoken over your life. It's not something that you could get rid of. You could deny it if you want to. Sometimes destiny finds us whether we deny it or accept it. There's also that part of destiny. That's true. And it's not something that another person could take away from you. If you're destined for it, you're destined for it. You're going to meet it. So yeah. Then. I knew it. It's a moment of, now you have this card in the deck. Now you have a card. They're going to offer you something. I don't know what it is, but something. A card. The most versatile, most important, the smartest with your artist card in the deck. Your smartest artist card. The only wild card. The only joker, okay, in the entire deck. I knew it. Now look at this. I can play my hand. Now look at this. I knew it. I'm gonna win then. Undeniably, destined, right? Okay. There's one more about that. What is it? Oh, and then you're gonna get to work. That's good. Okay, yeah. Here's the card. Let me play the card. And I see, it reminds me of like how do I explain it? It's like I see somebody, it's not a card you just play once. Oh, and I have this card. It's a card that never declines. I have this card. And I have this card. And I have this card in all these different situations. Yes, here, the card. And I'm going to play it every time because you know what? I knew it. I knew it. And I know it still. I knew it. Man. So then you're going to get to work. Hey, can I pay with this? Thank you so much. Can I pay with this? Thank you so much. Can I pay with this? Thank you so much. Man, that sounds good. You know what? Let it go then. Let it go then. We've got things to do. We've been through all this death, all this done, all this destruction. All right, let's get another one. Let's do the third. And then we'll listen for things I heard. This is a longer reading than I thought it was going to be. But you know what? That's all right with me. Let's check it out. Let's talk about the birth coming in, the hard work. Urus is more than just hard work. That's true. Okay. Urus is more than just hard work. It's the force. It's the drive. It's like going against gravity also. That's when I was talking about Saturn and like being resistant. If you keep up the pattern and you're resistant, Saturn rewards that. If you can keep up the pattern, even when you're tired, even when you're uninspired, think about the way that like artists in the world, talking about the smartest artist card, right? Okay. The artists in the world, like people who are creators and people who are like, they do art or create for a living. Like one of the things that I hear talked about in that space a lot of the times is like having to create even when the inspiration isn't really there, being resistant, right? Now, there's also, if we look at social media, this is like from my world of resistant. So apply as necessary, just some references of what I'm familiar with. But like keeping up that hard work in the algorithm, eventually it pays off. Eventually there's like something that, you know, if you keep up with it. So if you're looking at that in your life and kind of like the things that you've had to be resistant to, that stuff is rewarded. That's Saturn. Saturn's like, okay, well, you know, you broke the pattern. You did something. You broke the pattern and you did it consistently. Okay, well then you have earned another right. You've earned an upward, whatever it is. But if you fall off the pattern and break the pattern that way, then you've earned a different lower layer hierarchy stuff, Saturn, right? Okay, so the birth, hard work is more than that though. Let's look at another one. The birth. Sometimes the birth is going to be direct. Sometimes it is not going to make any sense. Okay. Sometimes it's going to be direct. It's not going to make any sense. Sometimes the birth, the new stuff is going to come in. You're going to be like, me? Yeah, I guess. Sometimes it's going to come in, you're going to be like, yeah, that makes sense. yeah, I get that. Sometimes it's going to come in, you're going to be like, this is weird. Thanks, fate. This is weird. What do you, I'm not going to deny it. It makes sense. Also, though, weird. This is not what I expected. This is so off my radar that I wouldn't have even thought about expecting this in the first place. All from spirit, though. Talking about spiritual intervention, spirit being able to come down and be like, here you go. Thanks, Spirit. Okay, let's let this one go. We've got some fates to look at. The hard work paying off. The Udu is going to make more sense in a moment. Let's see. That was a stack. That's a fat stack. You see how many cards flipped up? That doesn't ever happen. We got a story. We got a story. Okay, guys. Okay. We got a story to read. Story time. Let go of the grief. Is done. All the loss, all this hard times. I want to throw the card. It's over. So I'm going to throw the card. You know what? It's done. Well, I really meant that too. It's over. Okay. Good. Yeah, I felt that. I felt that in my heart. I felt that in my gut. I felt it in my body. We're done. That's it. We're through. Okay. No more. Done. We're done. Okay. We have emotional maturity. Okay. Emotional nourishment, emotional maturity. Some of the things you've been working on are going to make sense. You ever work on a project, like a creative project, and you're like, I don't know why I'm doing this. Why am I doing this? I just have this urge within me to create this thing, and I have no idea what it's going to turn into, or no idea why I'm doing it in the first place. Okay, yeah. Some of it's going to start to make sense. Nurture it when it starts to make sense. There's a decision, many decisions, many provisions, many decisions. So let's go over this. The order came out for a reason. The order of these. Get rid of the loss. Done. That's the first one. Okay, we're not even going to think about it again. Nurture your emotions. Emotional maturity. Emotional maturity. Grounding of what you have created. Again, going back to how strong the work you've done is. Let it ground. Let it be. Let it round. Let it come to the ground. A practitioner are you. Now what else will you do? Now what else will you do? Okay, these works have come to the ground. I've seen the truth. I've reaped the rewards. I've sown my seeds. I've grown it. I've reaped it. Now what? Now what? So then there's decisions. And the perspective also I'm sitting in right now is like this energy. Yes, the eclipses are going to activate it, right? But it's going to be there for at least another 6 months. So we've got 6 months of here, I reward this. What am I going to do now? Here, I reward this with my... What am I going to do now? Spirit gave this to me because I asked for it and I did the work to get it. Now what? If we're getting keys, we go back to that. If we're getting keys, where are we going to put them? Where's the door? Okay? The keyhole is a key in and of itself. I know. So where are we going to go? What are we going to unlock with it? Some of those keys are going to unlock a whole bunch of stuff. Some of them are meant for one thing. Some of them are going to unlock some stuff and not other stuff. Decisions. There's also going to be some other tools to bring through those doorways with you. Cool, good, love it, grateful for it. Remember to think about it. Okay. Make your decision without delay, without dismay, and then receive your truth. Make your decision. Why did I do that? The natural innate gifts of a child, okay? The child doesn't think about it before they do it. They do it because it's true. So why is it true? Why did you do it? Why did you, think about it. Sit and think about it. Think about what it's going to turn into. Think about the next chapter. How do you want to weave it? Think about what the tool is going to do. Think about if there's anywhere else that key is going to be applicable. Think about it. Make your decision. Think about it. I made my decision. This is what I'm doing. Think about it. Sit and think about it. Because what I see in this moment is like, sword. We're going to say with a sword metaphor for a second. If someone has a sword, okay, someone has a sword and they're just walking around town with it. Back in the days where that would be like normal, okay. Would that have ever been normal? We're going to normalize it for a second. Swords, okay. I guess people technically walk around with swords these days, but swords, okay, we're not going to get hung up on the details of application, metaphor, think about it for yourself, and application. Moving on. in direction of metaphor. Okay, sword. Sword, okay? Sword can cut a cord. Sword is a ward. Sword is a sword. Also true. Sword can cut a lot more than a cord. That's also the truth. Sword can bring death. Sword can bring justice. Swords can do a lot. A lot. Swords can do a lot. So if you're walking around town with a sword, you're walking around town with a sword, you're walking around town with a sword, you're walking around town with a sword. I see a merchant of some kind. You don't even realize how good the sword you got is. You take it in for an appraisal, some sort of like further inspection, or someone asks to see it. There's gonna be it's like I see this room of people who are like further inspecting the sword. Further inspecting it. There's gonna be an offer. Maybe not to buy it, maybe to buy it, I don't know. Offer. An offer. What's the offer? Can we display this for an hour every Wednesday? Can we take a picture of it? Can we replicate it? Offer. If you have a sword, metaphorically, okay, and there's people around you, appraisal, looking at, there's going to be an offer. Make your decision without delay, without dismay, and then think about it. Why did I choose to do that? How am I going to go about this? What is this next chapter for me? You don't have to be so strong. This decision is not about strength. This is, if we're talking about urus, this is, think about how much brute force it takes to make a sword. A lot. Fire, heat, hammers. Fire, heat, hammers, polish it down, shine it up, sharpen it up. Metalsmithing is a crazy work. It is. Okay, so brute force, foraging. What did you forge? Have you been forged? Are you the sword? Kind of, yeah. Could be something that you've been working on as well. Apply as necessary, right? Okay. The sword, as it's being crafted, first of all, it takes time. Secondly, the sword has to be really strong to make it through all of that. You're going to heat me up till I'm molten, and then you're going to hammer me a whole bunch, and then I'm going to cool off, and then you're going to heat me up again, and then you're going to hammer me some more, and you're just going to keep doing that? Oh my God. Okay then, yeah. Seeing Thor on my team peek through a little bit. Love you, Thor. It is what it is. The anvil, okay. So scary. Being forged is such a process. It's so hard. So you've been through the process of forging, right? Over and over. And then once it's done, once you've hammered it into the shape and you have gotten it smooth and you've gotten it right, then you've got to sit and you've got to sharpen it. You've got to put your engravings on it. So you're cutting into it even more. Let me get this super fine. Let me super refine this. Then you've got to polish it. Let me polish it. Let me make sure. And then you got to sheath it. Now that it's done, I got to make sure that I can protect myself and other people from this dangerous thing that I've just created. A cover, right? A cover. You don't have to be so strong. The forging is over. You forged it. Whatever this thing is. It could be you. Could be something that you've been working on. You forged it. Could be both. The forging is done. The sword has a sheath. The sword is now carried. Hell yeah. Cool. That's what I feel about that. Hell yeah, cool. So you don't have to be so strong. It's already, you did the hard work. What I see is it's like the most finely crafted sword that this town has ever seen. Because again, like the merchants, right? If you're walking around with it, there's merchants who like maybe collect this stuff or sell that kind of weaponry. And they're like, where did you get this? You made it? Can we look at it? An offer. Given. Received. Oh my God. Don't leave. An offer given, received. Don't leave. It's going to be a healthy relationship. Whatever that these merchants, the people making this offer, the offering, thank you, Spirit, is going to be a healthy relationship. You've made sure that you are a person who can have a healthy relationship with this opportunity. It's from Spirit, sort of direct, sort of not. You can see part of it, can't see all of it. See a little bit, kind of know. Don't know the details yet. In between, a little bit. All right, the birth. This is the birth. We talked about the death in the previous one. We talked about the get up, let's go. This is the birth. What else about Urus? Why is this one still coming up? It's also about what you choose. I keep hearing the word gravity. Gravity. One of the things about Saturn, let's talk about Saturn and Saturn's rings. Very related to the concept, at least in my practice, of Urus. You could look at in the Norse space, you could look at Odin as well. Urus, okay, Urus. It's very masculine. We're looking at like divine masculine. If there was a card for that if there was a rune for that in the runes, Urus is a good indicator of that. The gravity, right? If you work on something, this is why, hold on, let's take a step back. When I describe the boundaries of Saturn, or these rings of Saturn, it's normally why I talk about them when I'm teaching people in my sessions. It's normally why I talk about them in like rings. Saturn has rings, right? We have different forces of gravity depending on how much mass we have. And to be able to obtain more of that mass, more of the hierarchy within the world, more wealth, more position, more pull, more influence, Saturn, 10th house stuff. To be able to obtain more of that, you have to have more hard work. You have to put more of that brute force in. So if you think about what is it that's been forged, think about how much gravity that already carries. We see it with workings all the time in magic. Amulets, okay? If you, for example, because it's the one that's on my mind right now and I've like been preparing myself for it, the Sacred Death Fates Ward Oil, like that's a 9-day working. Gravity, the gravity of 9 days, the gravity of all the details of the ritual that go into it, gravity, right? We see it with gravity. If you say a prayer, there's gravity to that. So gravity, gravitational pull, it's a crazy thing. It's a crazy thing. Okay? There's so many different layers to it. There are so many different layers to it. Part of the study of time magic for me is also gravity, for those of you, because I know there's people out there who are interested in time magic as well. Saturn is the god of time, so there's that. Gravity, right? Okay. The gravity has arrived then. That's what this is. Thanks, Spirit. That's what this is. The gravity has arrived. If this is the container, this shape, that's the container of the gravity, what's the gravity going to do now? What's going to get pulled into that gravitational orbit? That's what I mean. We see it with working. You do a working, you create gravity. Now you're going to be pulled into that gravitational force. Something's going to be pulled towards you. If you do a working for more money, now Spirit's going to ask you to go through the process so that you can receive what is necessary, the qualities, the forging process. Okay, could be clearing, could be death, could be revering, could be new skills learned, so that you can go and receive that new money. You're being pulled into the gravitational field of it as it is of you, well, simultaneously, and then you get to be in orbit with each other. But if you don't keep up the work, Saturn, then you fall out of orbit with that thing. So what is it that you've been forging? What is being pulled into your gravity? What's the gravitational force that's being crossed with you? It's a healthy relationship. It's something that Spirit is bringing. Here you go. The merchants, okay? Make your decision kindly, keenly. Don't dismiss it. Make the decision, okay? And don't delay. Talk to them. Talk to them when this shows up. It's an offering. And then think about it, Why did I make that decision? Why did I decide to do that? What's going to happen now? What's the process? How do I do this? Where are we going? We. Oh, we? We. You don't have to be strong. I feel like this is like you getting carried along. Rather than having to forge the sword and like get really strong and like, now you get to be carried. Think about all the work you just did. Rest a little bit. We're going to carry you. Don't leave that. Don't leave that. Don't leave it. Don't leave it. Once you're there, don't leave it. Don't leave it. Don't leave it. Don't leave it. You receive it. Don't leave it. Gratitude, reverence, and love to you. That's wild. Oh my goodness. Through the eyes of a child. Wow. Whoa. Through the eyes of future me, I've got to be maybe more keen about it, but you know what it is. Let's keep it clean. So gratitude, reverence, and love to you. Gratitude, reverence, and love to you. This is going to be a great full moon. Prepare as necessary. I know we still have a new moon to get through. We still have some other, stuff going on. But I wanted to get us an update on the eclipse. I've just been feeling it. It was time. So, yeah. Keep up the brew that you do. I for sure will too. I'll talk to you soon. Also true. And thanks for being here, for the support. Also true.